Open any major sport fishing brokerage site right now. Filter for diesel convertible sport fishers between 55 and 70 feet. Sort by days on market. You are going to see a number that would have been impossible to imagine 4 years ago. Boats sitting for 280, 300, 340 days. That is nearly a full year on the dock. A full year of dockage fees, insurance, maintenance, crew costs, and an asking price getting carved down month after month until the seller either finds a bottom or gives up entirely. And it is not just one boat. It is a specific, predictable segment of the saltwater fleet. The late 90s through the mid-2010s, diesel convertible sport fishers in the 55 to 70 foot range, the kind of boat that was commanding $1.4 to $1.8 million during the pandemic run-up, that is now sitting at $850,000 to $900,000, occasionally breaking $1 million if everything is documented perfectly. And even at those prices, they are not moving. In the first 2 months of 2026, industry-wide brokerage sales were down 25% year over year, according to Brokerage reporting data. Cash buyers have all the leverage. Finance buyers largely cannot qualify, and the boats keep sitting. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly why this is happening. 5 forces are all hitting this one specific segment of the market simultaneously. By the end of this, you are going to understand why these boats have gone from the pinnacle of aspirational saltwater ownership to some of the most financially dangerous purchases you can make right now. If you want real breakdowns like this, not sales pitches, subscribe now. Let's get into it. To understand what is happening to large diesel convertibles right now, you have to understand what happened between 2020 and 2023. The pandemic compressed the supply chain on new builds, and it simultaneously exploded demand for anything that could get offshore immediately. Sport fishing boats that had been sitting in brokerage for 8 months before the pandemic were moving in 30 days. Buyers who would have walked away from a boat with 4,000 engine hours were writing checks because there was nothing else available. The result was a valuation environment where deferred maintenance, high hours, and outdated electronics did not discount a listing because the next buyer in line would take it anyway. Sellers who bought in 2015 for $1.2 million were listing at $1.7 million in 2022 and getting it. That is a 40% appreciation on a diesel inboard with 4,000 hours on each engine. That is not a real market. That is a moment in time masquerading as a market. The reversal was inevitable. Marine industry-wide brokerage sales in the first half of 2025 were running 25% below the same period in 2024. Listing prices for this segment have retreated, but not fast enough to match where buyer willingness to pay has landed. The gap between what sellers still believe their boat is worth and what a cash buyer will actually pay is the widest it has been in 2 decades for this specific category. This is the single most damaging force acting on the values of diesel convertibles in the 55 to 70 foot range right now, and it is the one that most sellers still refuse to account for in their pricing. A Sportfisher of this size, built between 1998 and 2012, typically runs twin diesel inboards, Caterpillar C32s, MTU Series 2000 variants, or MAN V8s, producing between 1,200 and 1,600 horsepower per engine. Those engines have a documented reliable service life of approximately 8,000 to 10,000 hours under proper maintenance conditions. The boats sitting on the brokerage market right now frequently have between 3,500 and 5,500 hours on each engine, often on service records that show deferred interval maintenance during the pandemic period when yards were overwhelmed and parts lead times extended. Here is what the repower math looks like on this platform in 2025 and 2026. A fresh set of high horsepower twin diesels in the 1,400 to 1,600 horsepower class cost between $160,000 and $240,000 in parts alone. Installation labor on a vessel of this size, engine alignment, exhaust system work, fuel system integration, electronic controls integration, adds another $30,000 to $60,000 per engine. A full twin repower on a 65-foot Sportfisher is a $300,000 to $400,000 capital event. Marlin Magazine documents this reality directly. As parts for older high-horsepower engines become scarcer and lead times extend, the argument for new engines becomes financially compelling, but that argument does not make the repower cost any smaller. For a boat listed at $1 million with 4,000 engine hours on each diesel, the informed buyer's calculus is immediate. If the engines have 2,000 hours of reliable life remaining at best, the repower is not a future maybe. It is a scheduled certainty. Subtract the repower cost from the asking price, and you have the actual value of the transaction. A boat listed at $950,000 with engines that need replacing within 3 years is not a $950,000 boat. It is a $550 boat at best, and that is before you touch anything else. Traditional boat financing has restructured specifically around the risk profile of diesel inboards in this size and age range, and the effect has been to eliminate the majority of the historical buyer pool entirely. Marine lenders that previously financed vessels up to 20 years of age have compressed their risk parameters. Boats over 15 years old with high-hour diesel inboards now routinely require 30 to 40% down payments when financing is available at all. Interest rates on 60-month marine loans averaged 8.4% in 2024. For a $900,000 boat requiring a 40% down payment, the buyer must bring $360,000 to closing before the first payment. The monthly payment on the financed balance at current rates approaches $6,000. That math eliminates the aspirational buyer entirely. That is the person who built a career, saved a down payment, and wanted to move into offshore sport fishing at the highest level. What remains is the cash buyer. Cash buyers in this environment know exactly what leverage they have. They are not competing with financed offers. They are not operating under any deadline pressure. They can offer at 30% below asking, walk away if it is not accepted, and come back in 90 days to the same boat still sitting at the same dock. Sellers who have been carrying a boat for 11 months with $100,000 in accumulated carrying costs in that period understand the arithmetic. The deals that are closing in this segment are closing at discounts that would have been unthinkable in 2022. A diesel Sportfisher built in 2005 was state-of-the-art. In 2026, its electronics package is a liability in the survey and a problem in daily use. The helm electronics on a 20-year-old Sportfisher typically include chart plotters, radar, and autopilot systems running software that manufacturers stopped supporting between 8 and 12 years ago. Replacement parts for legacy Furuno, Simrad, and Northstar systems from that era are increasingly difficult to source. More critically, modern vessel management systems, integrated helm networks that connect propulsion monitoring, stabilization, navigation, fishing electronics, and communications into a unified display architecture cannot interface with legacy electrical infrastructure without a full rewire. A helm electronics refit on a 60-foot Sportfisher runs $35,000 to $75,000, depending on the scope of the system's replacement. Stabilization is the second obsolescence gap. Modern diesel convertibles in this size class are increasingly expected to carry Seakeeper gyroscopic stabilizers, which eliminate roll at anchor and significantly reduce underway motion in a beam sea. A Seakeeper 9, appropriate for vessels in the 55 to 65 foot range, costs approximately $30,000 before installation. Installation on a vessel that was not originally built to accept a gyroscope requires structural modification and is a significant yard project. Buyers who have operated modern vessels with gyro stabilization are not willing to return to a platform without it. That preference creates a valuation penalty on unstabilized boats that the market is now pricing in real time. Even a buyer willing to underwrite the repower cost and the electronics obsolescence hits one more wall. The ongoing cost of ownership is being repriced by both insurance and marina infrastructure communities. Marine insurance on a diesel Sportfisher, over 15 years old in this size class, now requires full out-of-water surveys every 3 years at a cost of several $1,000s per survey as a condition of coverage renewal. For vessels with documented deferred maintenance, the kind of deferred maintenance that pandemic-era service constraints produce throughout this segment, underwriters are offering actual cash value policies instead of agreed value coverage. Actual cash value coverage accounts for ongoing depreciation, meaning a total loss event may not produce enough insurance payout to cover an outstanding loan balance, and certainly not enough to replace the vessel. Marina infrastructure adds the final layer of cost pressure. Slips capable of accommodating a 65-foot diesel convertible with a full tower, accounting for beam, draft, and overall length, are among the most expensive real estate in any coastal marina. Annual dockage for a vessel of this size in premium coastal markets runs $30,000 to $55,000. Add insurance premiums that have increased significantly as marine underwriters tighten their books after hurricane seasons and market volatility. Add fuel costs for twin high-horsepower diesels at offshore cruise speeds and crew costs on any vessel too large to single-hand offshore. The total annual cost of ownership on a 15-year-old diesel convertible is a number that current listing prices simply cannot justify. The boats that were $1.6 million 4 years ago are not bad boats. Most of them are structurally sound hulls from builders Hatteras, Viking, Bertram, Spencer, Merritt, whose construction methodology was designed to outlast multiple ownership generations. What they are is correctly repriced by a market that has finally done the math on what it actually costs to own, maintain, and operate a diesel inboard Sportfisher in 2026. The sellers who understand that math and price accordingly will find buyers. The sellers who are still anchored to what they paid or what their neighbor got in 2022 will continue to watch the days on market counterclimb. For the buyer who knows what they are looking at, this market is real opportunity. The inspection protocol is non-negotiable. Pull the engine room service records for every interval. Get a compression test and oil analysis on both diesels before any offer is made. Run the Helm electronics list against current manufacturer support status. Survey the hull out of the water because osmotic blistering and transom moisture on boats of this age and service history require physical verification, not seller representation. Factor every deferred maintenance item into your offer before you write a number. The boats are there, the prices are moving. The question is whether the buyer did the work before the check clears.